everyone. It's Simone Baldwin with Simone Baldwin Productions and executive producer of this project, 5 Seasons of Waiting. We did it, guys. We made it to the end. This is the final episode of this series, Due Season, the 5th week. So you've gone through the spring, you've gone through the summer, the fall, the winter, and now we're at due season. The reason for it all, the reason and the purpose of why you waited. What's the purpose of you being single? What was the purpose of you making that intentional and conscious decision to live a submitted life to God? What was your reason? Did you realize your purpose in that season? It's something to think about. So these individuals are going to share their stories with you and their purpose and their aha moment and their purpose in their due season.
Ain't no other choice. There is no other choice. It's kind of like, look, you've been waiting for this long. What you gonna do now? You're gonna stop waiting? You're gonna choose something different? Then go outside? What are you gonna do at this point? And the answer is, I still want the best. I still want a healthy marriage with a healthy partner, and I want to be my healthiest self. So there really is no other choice but to continue to wait for God. And when I hear God say, "This is it," yes, God, thank you. And I would imagine, sometimes in the waiting, you ask God for signs, and you ask God, what's the point of waiting, and all that stuff. I can remember driving one day, and God, I'm so tired of waiting, God. I'm so tired. And I said, just give me a glimpse. Just give me a glimpse of what I'm waiting for. And I remember driving one day, and I had this vision. I don't know exactly what it was, my imagination. I'm going to learn to use my holy imagination. But I remember God gave me this vision of me just kind of dancing with my husband. And it was so beautiful. I feel like I'm about to cry right now. It was so beautiful. So beautiful. And whenever I kind of get tired of waiting now, I bring that vision, that thought, that memory back to mind, because I'm like, if that is what I'm waiting for, then let's just wait a little bit longer. Okay? And I also think about too, they always say that sometimes when you have relationships with people and they're really great, but they just don't work out because it's not the will of God, they always say that if that was great, can you imagine what the real thing is going to be? And so I'll keep that into mind. I keep that in mind as well, that if all of my relationships were as good as they were, just not God, I can only imagine what the real deal is going to be like. I can only imagine. So I just keep that in mind, that God can do exceedingly and abundantly above anything that I could ever hope or imagine. And I just keep that in mind, and that just kind of helps me to say, it's worth it. It's worth the wait.
Steadfast in the Lord, and knowing that in the waiting, that He will provide a mate for me. I've tried it on my own, searched for my own, but then that's not God's will. I want to be in a position to be found, and I know that whoever the Lord has in mind for me will be there for me. It's not His will that we will be alone. So in God's timing, I wait for Him.
I'm steadfast in my decision to wait because of the peace that I have, the lack of confusion I have in my life. I mean, before this, it was messy some days. It was messy some days. So for me to be in a peaceful place with no confusion is a wonderful thing.
What makes me steadfast and confidence in my season to wait is making a choice, standing on the choice that you've prayed about, and being good with it. Just genuinely being good. Not if when situations come, when a lot of distractions arise, or things try to get me off course, then I know that's where I am supposed to be, and that I can't move from it. I have to move past it, the situation, but not move from it. But I always know that it's when something good is going to happen, because the place where I'm in is where I'm meant to be, and I can't allow different situations or outside distractions move me from the place that I am.
My confidence in waiting is that as I wait upon the Lord, I really believe that I'm bettering me. I'm going to give the new wife the best version. I know Dr. T, my previous wife, they had a wonderful version of me. This waiting to me is process. Waiting, people don't like process. People don't like purity. People don't like the challenge of getting better in all areas of their lives. And so this waiting thing or process for me is about betterment. Betterment for me is that I want my new marriage to give another 30 years. If God graced me to live another 30, 40 years, I want my new marriage to be better than my first marriage. And people may think that sounds crazy, but I mean, if I got a second chance, if everything has been legal, I want a better, why have a car, you talk about the old car, and it's old, but it's a beautiful car, and God said you can have a newer car. You want your newer car to have features and things that the old car didn't have on it. And not to despise the old car, you just want a newer car, a better version of a car. And so with that being said, I want to give myself as better to someone. So they are going to get the best version of me. So this waiting is about my process. My process is about my inner change, my outer change. For me, inner understanding myself, outer understanding, inner understanding, and I want to have inner understanding too that I need to make adjustments. Adjustments is a part of the process of life. If you make no adjustments in life, then you make no abilities to correct problems in your life. And then I understand the things that I need to adjust because it's going to make my relationship better. I want a wife who also will better herself, but I can't worry about that. I gotta just better me. So I'm gonna present the best version, and I'm gonna keep working on those things even after the relationship. Because I know in the midst of relationships, sometimes there could be some intense fellowship, heated moments. Call it intense fellowship, whereby it doesn't quite come out the way you present it in your head. You have to walk through that based on the other person's person and how they act and feel towards things. And so I know I'm already prepared for it, but I want my new queen to know that she's getting one of the most prolific men in the world. She's getting a lover. She's getting a man that loves her, love life, love family. A man that's going to take care of her. A man that's going to give her the best. I mean, I want my wife waking up just pinching herself every morning. Like, oh my God, this man. There's no way. I want her to think that I'm an angel that God dropped out of heaven. You know what I mean? Perfect. But I really want her to trip every day that God chose His best for her, and that she didn't make a mistake. She's not going to regret it. And then I want that's the kind of awe that I want upon her. That she's in awe of just my whole personality. This guy really worked on this, and I love the concept of relationship. I think that's one of my strengths. My wife and I, it was a strength for us. We wrote a book, of course, we written a book as well on premarital as well as marital state to better couples. And so I love this stuff, and I love it for the proof that it works. When you're working on bettering you, learning how to communicate, learning how to deal with all the things that we deal with as couples, how to deal with arguments, how to deal with children, parenting, and we all got different concepts based on home origin issues. How do you deal with money? Could be a game-changing relationship. How do you deal with money? We're going to combine accounts. We're going to do this. We're going to come out of debt, or we're in debt. And so with that being said, how do we think political? And that's a real touchy, edgy subject in this culture, but it has to be dealt with. Are you Republican, Democratic, Independent, or Green Party? You have to deal with those things pre-married, because they can be, maybe they come, as we talked in another season, they can become deal breakers, and I don't want that. I just want our relationship to be hot, spicy. I want us to just love the fact that each day God has given us to look into the eyes. I really want to experience love a second go round. I deal with Pastor T, but I really want to even go to another level of love where I've this. My girls would tell me, Dad, they said, Dad, I want this new wife, which is my 3 daughters. I want her just to love you and let the church, of course, what I'm doing now, let her not be a co-pastor or whatever. Just let her come to church and love the Lord because she loved the Lord, because she loved what you're doing and interacting with what you're doing. But it really set me free because they put no labels on her that she had to be the co-pastor of the church as the first lady of the church, as most traditional pastors, by default first lady, but never putting her into ministry or throwing her into a category that she don't feel that her life can fulfill. They want to come with her own fragrance, her own aroma, fill the place with her own grace. And I want that too, because I want to give, again, I want so much I feel I have to offer to my new wife, and I'm going to do it.
My Godfidence, just having so much confidence that God has so much in store for me. He knows the plans he has for us to prosper us, give us hope in the future. Jeremiah 29:11, one of my favorite scriptures. And also, I live by Ephesians 3:20. God can do exceedingly abundantly above all I could ever ask, think, or imagine. So I know what I've been dreaming and wanting, he's gonna surpass that. It's gonna be multiplied. Also, every year I have a theme, and this is my year of restoration and multiplication. So I'm just excited for what God's gonna restore, what he's gonna multiply in this season. So let's do this. Won't he will.
So being steadfast in my choice to wait really has to do with understanding and knowing the purpose of who I am, what God has created me for, what he has created me to do in the earth. We could talk about all the things that we've done wrong. We could talk about all the times that I've missed the mark. I could tell you when the Holy Spirit told me not to go someplace and I went the opposite direction. And what it all boils down to over the seasons of my life in this journey, and my choosing to wait, I can actually point back to, in hindsight, the actual hurdle that has caused me to go in a different direction that God didn't choose. And at the end of the day, when I go back to God, when I repent, when I ask God to help me to not turn back that direction, it all boils down to, God, what did you really create me for? What am I here for? And so I can't say that I've gotten a perfect answer. I can't say that I've gotten the answer that just puts Renee to sleep at night. That's not the answer that I receive from God. It is my daily seeking God, and he unfolds in front of my eyes all the different things about me. And it does not come overnight. It doesn't come with one sitting, one moment in prayer. It comes through you getting to know him, and he allows you to see you. He allows you to pull back the layers of yourself, and you see yourself through God. And when, to me, that is a beautiful place to be. That is when you can seek after God's face and begin to see yourself, almost like you're having an outer body moment. But when you begin to see yourself and you begin to see what God sees about you, that is so spiritually, emotionally rewarding and satisfying. And then that's when you start to feel like, okay, I do have purpose. I'm here for a reason. And I like what I see. That is so rewarding internally, that it actually illuminates externally. And that's that transformation from God that I've been looking for. I can't speak for everyone else, but that's exactly what I've been missing in my whole entire life.
Mynisha J. Rogers, minister, entrepreneur, and author of the Healing Network book states, the key to believing, receiving, and maintaining our healing is found in our network, which consists of the FAR principle: faith, action, and relationships. She reminds us that God still heals. He healed before, he is healing now, and he will heal again. So now is the time to believe, receive, and maintain your healing. Get your copy today.
You gotta do your work. You gotta do there is no way around knowing yourself, knowing your triggers, knowing how your past affects you, and just learning yourself. There's no way around it, especially when you are in a romantic relationship. hopefully a partnered husband-wife relationship. I tend to believe that marriage, like one of the points of marriage is to make us whole, to make us holy, right? Holy matrimony. And I believe that God uses partnership, connection, relationships to kind of grow us and to develop us. But in order for that to work, a part of you has to come to the table knowing things about yourself, knowing how to be able to express that to a partner, be vulnerable with a partner so that the relationship can progress. And if you don't do that now, then it makes it so much harder when you're partnered. And so I would say to anyone, take the time to do your own work so that it is easier on the other side. No, it's not going to be, nothing is ever perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. You can't ever expect things to be perfect, but you can make it easier on yourself and on your partner by doing some of your work and being open to the process.
Oh, that I trust and believe that I am a good, fun-loving woman. I'm a good listener, and I can provide prayer because I'm an intercessor. And whoever God places in my orbit that will come into my life, I will enhance that relationship. I'm confident in that.
I think that my best lesson is that before this, I was not healed, that I needed healing. So that is something that I really sit with, just that I needed healing. I realized as I sat that I was the walking wounded. I think I said earlier, I was bleeding on people that didn't cut me. I was the walking wounded, and I'm not there anymore. I've been healed a lot, and I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to be open with other people. I'm willing to date again because of that healing. So I'm really thankful for that.
The best lesson for me is number one, getting to know who I am and being good with it, and not to be a people pleaser. You cannot live this life trying to please anyone other than God. Him first. You cannot please people because you will never satisfy their appetite ever. You have to be happy with who you are. Looking back at the then versus the now. Trust in the process. Also, my faith. And whenever I pray and the Spirit leads me into a direction, not to get off course from that direction because things aren't feeling the way that I think that it should. You know, like you got a cold and that cough medicine, it does not taste good. It may not feel good going down, but it works out for you good. So I know for me, you got to go through it. I've got to go through it. Got to stand in it. Got to go through it.
The best lesson I learned on me that I could be a trip. You know what I mean? I thought I was a pretty smooth dude. I am, but I'm a trip. I'm a trip, and you know, can I share something? I'll be very candid. I realized that the thing that Pastor T told me that I need to work on, it needs to be worked on. Because if somebody's bringing up the same topic to you, different person that you're trying to pursue, and it comes back up, you've heard it more than once, you know that something needs to work on. And I realized that I'm a nice guy, but I could be a trip, you know, and when you say you be a trip, it's like you have those idiosyncrasies. Watch this, and the term idiosyncrasy means you believe it in your own mind. You know what I mean? You don't think nothing wrong with it. And so they could be watch this is the power part. They could be by way of generational curse, or they could be by something that you learned from your mom. learned by family trait or through DNA, through what we call iniquity passed on to the bloodline. You don't even realize you're doing it. And so that being said, I want the areas that I know that I'm a trip on, I really have to keep asking God to help me with those areas. Lord, strengthen me in these areas. I'm not good, because I don't want that to become the detriment of my new wife or the detriment of my marriage. I want that to be a game changer for her. Say, I can't deal with this, And so identify that, and I think too, my identification that I let people know, I need you praying for this area of my life. Let them know what this trip area is. Don't let them discover it. Let them know I have a problem with this area. I need your prayers. I need you to pray for me as we pray one for another. That God will continue to mold me and bring me to a place of maturity in this area so that it won't interfere with our relationship. So I think, somebody who is, you're going to connect with, and I definitely want my person to be spiritual in regards to having a relationship with the Lord. I want to let them know what I trip on. These are the things I'm weak at. These are the things I trip on. I need your prayers and I need your support. That way, that surprise them. You already bring to the table what your faults are. Bible said that we should pray for one another's faults. We really do. Not that everybody knows them. We just kind of, conceal them, and we trust people that we care for with them. That they won't use it to crucify or use it to judge us or use it to throw it in our face to belittle us, to make us feel bad. Nobody wants to feel bad about areas you need to work on. And so with that being said, I would be upfront with my new partner, to let her know what things she needs to cover me with as I'm, but again, I discovered that I'm a trip in some areas of my life. It's funny, but I'm working on bettering those areas. I'm working on bettering those areas.
What God has for me is for me. Who God has for me is for me. That has truly stuck with me, because obviously the person that I was dealing with was not for me, and I tried to hold on to that, and that's derailing who God has for me and derailing those blessings. So now that just truly sticks with me, and I'm just so thankful to the person who shared that with me. Also, God will grant the desires of my heart, but according to his will. That last part is what really stuck with me, because growing up, I'm like, God's gonna grant me the desires of my heart. God's gonna, according to his will. So if it's something I want and it's not in his will, it's not gonna happen. So when things don't happen on my timetable or not at all, I'm like, okay, that just means God has something better for me. And I'm ready, and I'm excited, because his best is his best, and I want God's best.
The best lesson that I've learned while waiting that will affect or impact me in my future dating rituals is, and I don't know if this is more of a lesson versus a posture or a stance, but if I can just say two words, God is. If I can say that, everything that I was seeking in a man, everything that I was looking after really was to fill voids, or to kind of over peanut butter spread over insecurities that I had as a woman. When I can tell you from the transformation that God has done in me, that God is, and that whatever your blank is after that, that is my greatest takeaway from choosing to wait. Because God has filled every void. He has covered my insecurities. He has covered me, and he really has delivered me from a lot of places that I put myself in, that he did not have to cover me. So my greatest lesson is knowing and understanding and trusting that God is. And so the things that I was seeking for after man, that companionship, that friendship, someone to hold me, somebody to, I don't even miss it anymore. I do value it and what it brings to the table. But when I tell you that God has been, someone that I can trust and lean on, and he holds me at night. He has done everything that I've needed a man to do. I really cannot say anything more than that, other than God is. And then everything that I've missed, everything that I was seeking after, everything that I felt that I did not have, God has been. So that is my greatest takeaway, is that God is everything that I wanted, everything that I needed, everything that I do want and do need and expect, God already is in my life.
me the short way, I would run. I guess I'm a runner. I guess that's what God wanted me to know about myself in that moment. But I think that it's important to, in terms of words of advice, I think that it's important to kind of just know your season. Know your season, know what you're supposed to be getting out of every season of your life, and just staying on point with that. Like, just staying on point, and not, if you see yourself getting distracted, it's okay. Give yourself grace, show yourself grace, and just get back on track. Just get back on track.
Don't be in a rush to find your mate or your companion, your significant other. Don't be in a rush, because then you're going ahead of God's move in your life. Relax, enjoy the ride, enjoy yourself, learn yourself, pace yourself, and go for the ride. God has so much in store for that young person that was 40 years in the 20s up until now. And when you take your hand off the situation, God will handle it for you. Trust Him.
The words of advice I would give to my younger self or anyone is to wait on the Lord. Disobedience and willfulness is not worth it. I feel like I paid a high price in the amount of hurt and suffering I went through, very honestly. So I'm thankful for where I am now, but I understand if I could go back and do it all over again, I would obey God. I would not be willful and try to do it my way. It doesn't work.
Not doing as I've done would be some words of advice that I would give my younger self or someone else. I think life, even for me as a mom, I've learned from my mistakes. I've learned from growing, and I try not to be that mom because I told you so. I like to speak to the reason why this decision is to be made. This is why it's going to be the way it is. Think about the outcome from your choices. Think about the effects that it's going to have on your life then and later down the road. Pray. Dig deep. Listen, listen to the Spirit. Just have faith and remember your purpose. Remember your purpose. Don't lose yourself in someone else. Don't ever losing yourself in someone else. You're bound to forget who you are, and then if that relationship doesn't last, you don't know who you were. What were you all about? Never lose yourself in someone else. Don't walk on eggshells. Be happy. You want to have joy, and if it's meant to be, it's organic. It meshes together naturally. Don't make it happen. Just allow it to happen naturally.
This is something that was almost a deal breaker in my first marriage. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed being with my wife. That was something that I did not. That was never a question that came up in the counseling session, and so it was never asked. I never knew because I'm just assuming that my future wife, which was my wife at the time, of course, going to be my wife, just automatically by default that these things will fall in place. Well, Pastor T didn't like being intimate as much as I liked it, and so that became a problem. Because I'm high needs, and she was like, "Hey, 2 times a week is sufficient," and that's why we came up with many of our members really came up with what we call scheduled sex sessions, the triple S. That's something that my younger self, I didn't identify that until we got into the marriage, and it almost cost us the marriage. That's the part I want. Why I'm sharing it, because I wish I knew that about myself, that I love being with my wife, and I love the whole I love the whole ideal about being sexually involved with your wife. That's important. It's a very big percentage of the relationship. Don't ever underestimate it. Don't ever put it down like it's not important. That is a big deal. No, it's not everything, but it's a big deal. And so when I say that, with again my partner, here's my no compromise. And I did say something earlier that I guess I would have to take back. I'll add to that, not take back. God has to be number one. Her flexibility has to be number two. But I think flexibility with that, I think at this season right now in my life, I don't think I would have time to. Me and Pastor Steve built up a beautiful relationship where it was a flow now. We understood each other because 30 years it was like, okay, this guy he likes peanut butter jelly sandwiches, or he likes Fiji water, or he likes chicken and greens, and you kind of identify people's likes and dislikes. And we finally got that, and we finally gave that to each other. On this onset to my new wife, this has to be something that she's already built in on. The sexual part has to be something she automatically loves. And she's been developed enough in that area where she loves it just as much as I love it. Because I know I don't have time for 30 years to get her to fall in love with this beautiful thing that God gave us. And we'll never need to be ashamed about it, to be ashamed that this is an important part of a relationship, how it builds. I love, of course, God created for procreation, but also for our human enjoyment as a marriage. I'm not gonna get married with somebody who don't like sex. It's like, that's just not gonna happen. So if they tell me, "Ooh, I don't like sex," I already know, don't just cut them off my list. I already know you're a distraction, and I don't need to date you because it's gonna be a problem. And I already know that. So my younger self, I think that I could have told my younger self then that I wish I would have. I did. Past teens again has almost cost us 3 times. We were about to divorce 3 times on the fact that I felt like I was not getting enough of her time, and I was critical. And I didn't mind coming out with the public about it to teach on it because I didn't know how many couples struggle with that. I mean, people say, "Bishop, he's a good man. She's a good woman. My needs are not being met." That's a real topic. I didn't realize how big that topic was because, when you're in a relationship, you feel like you're dying because your needs are not being met. And let's just go there with sexual needs. That is critical. I mean, it's like critical for those that understand, that enjoy it, that like it, that understand this is a big detriment. And why people go outside their marriage to cheat and do stuff because they have needs. It's like, and I'm not going to be doing it. I'm not going to go to, down the street, Miss Jones and whoever. I'm just calling somebody from there. I'm not going anywhere but to my wife for all my spiritual, physical, psychological, all my needs to be met with that one woman. It's called Docuseries. I believe, in all respect to the new wife, she'll be a multi-purpose woman. I don't have to go nowhere else because she embodies what I'm looking for. She embodies love, sexuality, what are the things not the stuff I'm tripping on negative, but the stuff I like to see in my wife. She embodies those things. And so therefore I don't have to go outside and go home to look for them. I used to say, roam me wrong, got a good thing at home. That's what my eyes don't need to roam. Roam got a good thing at home. My eyes don't need to be wandering the community on other women because my good thing is at home. Ready to handle, ready to take care of every need that I have.
This is really a great question because I recently did this as I was closing out 2021. I decided to write a letter to little Shamika, mini Shamika. So I'm going to share that with you right now. I would say, girl, get ready for the ride of your life. There will be some ups and downs, smiles and tears along the way, but just remember you are never alone. God is always with you, and He has divinely placed individuals in your life to grow with you. Some will stay in your life throughout every season, while others won't. Some will even come back in a different way. Some would say this is cliche, but Shamika, you truly are blessed and highly favored. Remember that no matter what, to never place your value and worth on what other people say about you. Your only focus is on what God says about you. Always remember that. Never limit God, because you serve a God who can do what? Exceedingly abundantly beyond what you can ever hope, dream, or imagine. Shamika, work on loving you and who God called you to be. Don't compare yourself to others.
Focus on becoming a kingdom woman and asking God to show you his perfect will for your life. Give yourself grace and know it's okay to make mistakes. Something you will learn from a wise woman one day is that practice does not make perfect, practice makes growth. In this life, you will be learning along the way. One of your spiritual teachers will remind you that God knows our beginning and our end, but it's our job to work the middle. So continue to stay in prayer on what God wants you, on how God wants you to work that middle. Also, get ready for God to show up and show out. You will be healthy and whole by nourishing your temple with love in all areas of your life and encouraging others to do the same. God is going to bless everything in your path and your family's path. Remember, you live in this world, but you are not of this world. Shamika, you are a generational shifter. Stay faithful, prayerful, and whatever you do, make sure all that you do is for God's glory. Love, Big Shamika, year 2021.
And so if I had any words to give to my younger self or to any young lady or any young man that wants to be married, and they're in that season of waiting, it's a couple things. One is to seek God. When you see that God is in your life, I'm telling you, there's no comparison. You can't size up a man or a woman to compare to what God can give you. You just can't do it, because there's no end to God's giving in your life when you are postured where he wants you to be and you're flowing in the purpose that God has created you. There's nothing, he says, no good thing will he withhold from them that walk upright. So you really can't compare yourself or compare what you want, your desires and everything, to anything that God can't do for you. He's just that great. The second thing I would say is learn yourself first. Find out who you are. Find out what makes you tick. Find out what doesn't make you tick. Find out all those things about yourself before you try to become one with someone. You'll be surprised at how ugly you can be when you really want to seek out who you are. When I started to ask God to show me Renee, there was a whole lot of stuff that I did not like about what I saw. And he showed me. He showed me my ugliness. He showed me my temperament. He showed me the flaws that he didn't like about me. He showed me the real Renee. And I had to really be honest about it. I didn't just receive it, but then I asked God to fill my heart so that I wouldn't be that ugly. I wouldn't, flow or operate, or that wouldn't be the center of me, that ugliness that he was showing me that was there. So I would tell anyone, because if you want the best that God can give you, you got to be the best. And so that's going to require some work on your part, because none of us are perfect. None of us all have it going on. What you have externally can't compare to what you have going on internally, because you can be a beautiful woman or a nice looking guy on the outside, but if you have an ugly demeanor or disposition, you have an ugly attitude, that's a huge turnoff. And there were some things about me that just were a huge turnoff to me. So I can imagine, what some of the people I dated thought about me. So that's the second part, would be to find out who you are in Christ, who you really are. Not just that saved person, but also that person that gossips, that lies, that has a temper, that, is not holding themselves accountable, that has no discipline. These are also the parts of you that you need to deal with as well. The third lesson I would say is wait. Just to wait on God and his timing. If you're trying to force a relationship to be there that really isn't there, but in our minds that we have made it up, and then we put a picture frame on it and set it on our nightstand because this is what I want, I'm telling you, you're doing it all wrong. Like I said, I used to play in my mind how, I would, how this relationship could work if I was with this guy, what we would have 2.5 cars and a big old house and all this other stuff. That would play in my mind, and I would put that in a picture frame and put it on my nightstand. And guess what? That's what I was looking at every night when I went to sleep. And I took my eyes off of God. I'm going to tell you, keep your eyes focused on God, because when it's God, it's always going to be right. When it is God, it is always going to be right. And even when you do it the right way and it doesn't work out, know that God is still in it. You can't control what someone else does. You can't control their actions, how they're going to respond to you, and what they're going to do in their walk with God. But your walk with God is going to be the most important thing of all. And that's the one thing that I've learned too, is not to jeopardize that relationship with God. Because that guy, that husband, that wife could walk away from you, even though they say sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, and that's the one that God sent to you, but they don't choose to continue that walk, you still have to continue your walk. And that's what's going to save you. That's what's going to keep you. That's what's going to deliver you. That's what's going to heal you. That's what's going to transform you from wherever state you started to wherever God is going to bring you to, is that place right there. Never forget to keep God first. When he's first, everything else will follow. Everything else will follow. It will fall in line. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying it's not going to be without challenges and issues, nights of crying, disappointments and rejection. I'm not saying any of those things. Those things are going to come, and the Bible tells us that. But I'm telling you, if you're trying to get to the other side, if you're trying to be that person that God has created you to be, you're going to have to walk through some things. But knowing that God is first and foremost for you settles the score. You don't have to go into a situation bankrupt anymore. You can go in fully vested. You can go in with a full bank account and not have to give out a whole bunch of deposits and withdrawals and have very little deposits. God is your deposit. He's giving into you, and that's where your source is from. Not from the husband, not from the wife, not from the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the fiance. Those are not your sources. You got to keep your eyes focused on God no matter what he or she does in your life. So those are my lessons to anyone. You got to keep your eyes focused on God. You got to know yourself and who you really are. Not just the cute stuff, not the stuff that's just, that smart stuff that's earning you six figures, or that bad body you got today and everything like that, because all of that could change. But the core person that who you are, if you don't work on that, you're not even pleasing God at that point. You're not even pleasing God. And that's, if you are really about your purpose and what you're created and placed on this earth to do. He said God knew us before we were even in our mother's womb. That means he has a plan for us. And he says that also, that he has a good thoughts and a good plan for us. So if you're interested in anything that God has for you, it starts right there. Knowing that God has a good purpose and a good plan for us. And so you've got to seek him out in order for that to unfold, for all the world to see, but for you to know who God is. And when you know who God is, you'll know who you are.
Did you learn anything new about yourself, even in this filming?
I like to talk. I love talking. I think that in going the long way, there's a lot of wisdom that can be developed. And I think that I have gained a lot of wisdom in these 20 some odd years of just kind of waiting and doing things in the way that God has allowed me to do. And in that gaining of wisdom, I think that I have a lot to share with other people. And I'm grateful for it. It hurts a lot of the time. It hurt a lot of the time. It was a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, a lot of work in terms of developing myself. Healing is sometimes hard. Healing is sometimes so hard, but it's so worth it. And so in that healing journey, I've learned, I just have learned a lot that I can give other people, and I'm grateful for that. I use it in my everyday. I'm a therapist, so I use it day to day with the people that I talk to every day. I use it with my friends and my family. People always like, "What you think?" And it's because I've been on this crazy journey for 20 years. And so, if anything that I've gotten out of this is that I've gotten wisdom. I've gotten a lot of wisdom.
With the filming of this whole project, all the different seasons that you talked about today, what's your takeaway? What have you learned from that?
I've learned you have to step out on faith. I've learned faith is an action word, and you can't rehearse everything. You cannot. Life is not a dress rehearsal. In this, I could prepare, but I could not read verbatim what I wanted to say for me, because I think that would have messed me up, because I would be too in tune to what I wrote down as to being genuine. So to be able to speak to it naturally is what I've learned, and even in life, that's just like going back to trying to please everybody. So you're making yourself up to be something that you're not, and you just have to do it to be natural. That way you don't have to remember what you did, the last time, to to make this thing work, just let it happen naturally. Today I learned that really to trust my inner self and just let it flow. Let it flow. What will be, will be. If it's not meant to be, then it's okay. It's really okay. Just be happy. Just be happy.
What did you learn about yourself during this filming?
I have learned a lot about myself. Actually, I want to thank Simone Ball Productions, who's doing just an amazing job with this production. And I've learned that about myself is that, you know, I was really not putting this off. And I thank her for trusting me, also trusting the interview, you know. And so, with that being said, I realize about myself that God is, for those that this are not camera, that are maybe camera shy, stage shy, voice shy, you know, being before people. I'm not, and Simone and I had a private conversation, you know, introvert now and extrovert, you know, learning how to come before a public and share your thoughts and things of that nature. But by nature, my real inner nature is I'd rather be, you know, behind the scenes, opening the curtains up for others to come to do their stage play. And I realize also that God has held me to the utmost responsibility of the calling that you have to do this. I've put in you what it takes to give answers to a generation. You're responsible with the information that I bless you with, that you got to pass along now. You can't be selfish with it, regardless of how you feel about yourself. Some of us are shy, don't want to open up our mouths, and even with that, you know, image-wise, not where I want to be, you know, with things that I'm working on personally, you think that gets in the way. But God doesn't study none of that, because He called you to be a voice to this generation, or to be an answer, and we have to answer the call. And then we work on those things behind that we're working on, but we never give God an excuse for being in the front. So I've learned with myself that, you know, I've learned that God has graced me, you know, and this continues to prove to myself as well that God's hands is on my life.
You love God first, I'm telling you, everything else is going to work out afterwards.
So with this whole project we've gone through each season, tell me something that you've learned about yourself just in this recording.
What I've learned about myself in this recording is that I have literally reconciled a lot of pains in my life. And I am happy that I'm not as broken as I thought I was. That is huge. If you value other people, sometimes you don't want to be that broken person in their life. And so you'll choose to back up and not date because you think, well, I'm so broken, nobody's going to want me. But just sharing some of the things, the fact that I'm not crying, I'll probably leave here and cry. But I really feel as though I reconciled a lot of the troubling pains, the issues, the hiccups, and the detours that I've taken, which have been plenty, that I've taken in my journey with Christ, knowing that I should have been waiting the whole time. I didn't. However, I believe that I've come out on the other side because I've always been seeking God, wanting to be better, wanting to be His, and wanting to be whole. I believe that I'm a woman who has more wisdom now and can channel my energies, channel my focus totally different. So for me, that is rewarding in itself to know that the transformation I believe that God is doing in me really does exist. And that's evident in my conversation today.
That's a wrap on Renee King. What have you learned about Angela during this process of filming?
Oh, wow. What I've learned about myself in this process of filming is that I'm really thankful, I'm really grateful for where I am in my life right now, that I've come through a lot, that I hopefully will be able to help somebody else not go through what I've gone through. But I've gone through a lot, but I've come out on the other side healed. I mean, I'm not 100% healed. I don't know if anybody's ever 100% healed, but I'm in a much better place. And I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. So I think that this filming process has allowed me to reflect on what I've come through, and just how much I have to be grateful for. So thank you.
That's a wrap on Angela Ferncross. So you filmed all these seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, and due season. What did you learn?
I learned that I have a testimony, I have a praise report, I have just a story that I can really share with others, because I truly feel that our testimonies are tied to someone else's deliverance, and I never want to hold back on how God has blessed me in my life. You know, just being able to speak my story just shows the growth, because there was a time when I didn't want to share this with people. I was maybe ashamed, or I just wasn't fully healed, but I truly feel that I've been delivered. I know God has so much in store for me. I know I'm still a work in progress, but I'm excited to just continue becoming the kingdom woman that He created me to be. The best is yet to come.
Cut on Shamika. My takeaway for myself personally after filming these individuals and really looking at these questions and examining them for myself, I had to really sit and think about that final question. Why am I steadfast? What is my takeaway about me in this season of waiting? What is my purpose right now? You know, I had that season of self-doubt and condemnation about my season of winter when I fell, and you know, but I believe that God heard my cry and He forgave me, and He does not want me to be alone. So I'm steadfast because God loves me, and I know that He's going to give me the desires of my heart, and my purpose mate is right there. I don't have him yet, but He is there. So my steadfast reason is just staying focused on God and knowing that He has my best interest. And in due season, He will come.
I want to be a part of bringing excellent and compelling content to life. From finding talent as a casting director to producing strong projects for television and film. There's something amazing and beautiful when the casting director can help usher the actor into transforming into a character, helping them to see and be the character, understanding the character's life story without seeing a face because they're the face.
You happy? I thought when I gave myself up, that was enough for you to be happy. But obviously not. Obviously not.
My purpose is a gift from God, and I'm honored and humbled by it. Oprah Winfrey once mentioned that you know you're doing what you're purposed to do when you can do it for hours on end. I'm excited to be able to live in my purpose and bring Simone Baldwin Productions to serve and deliver.